My tale begins in the past, when I was a child living in the country with my parents and my twin sister Beth. Our parents moved from the city to a quaint, charming old property in the country with no ceilings and beautiful exposed beams. When we entered our bedroom, our father pointed out the markings on the lower part of the door frames and smiled. Our mother explained that one of the previous occupants must have had children, as those were height markings with ages beside them, and thought it was a charming memento that she would like to keep. Being from the city and living in this unfamiliar place with all this space didn't initially offer us much to do. That was until we were ushered outside by our parents and told to go and explore, and this became our favourite pastime. All of the surrounding outbuildings, barns, old orchard, fields and woods became our playground and offered many hours of exploration for our entertainment. But our favourite game was playing with the ghost, to whom we would refer to as Nanny, as she was such a nurturing, considerate and kind ghost. She never jumped out and tried to scare us. She didn't look gruesome or horrific. She looked delicate and serene in her pinafore and strange old-fashioned clothing. Every morning my sister and I would wake up and find a warm cup of milk and an almond biscuit on our bedside tables that hadn't been there the previous night. We assumed she, Nanny, had left them there in case we had woken up during the night and couldn't get back to sleep. This isn't something our own mum would do, as she didn't allow food in our bedroom or drinking before bedtime. It seemed like Nanny just wanted to take care of us, especially during the twilight hours. We were often told off in the morning by our parents for going to the kitchen during the night and leaving the cupboard door open and the milk carton out. We tried to explain that it wasn't us but Nanny, to which our mother just laughed off the comment and told us to stop with the stories. There were other instances where Nanny would show her kindness towards us. Now, we weren't the tidiest of children. Our clothes tended to stay wherever they were thrown, strewn across the floor. Yet, since meeting Nanny, each morning our clothes would be folded and neatly placed in our dresser. Our mother was very pleased, to say the least, at our reformed, tidy behaviour, until we mentioned it wasn't us but Nanny. Our mother was getting rather tired of hearing Nanny as an excuse. One of the outbuildings was a large barn and contained a lot of old farming equipment and other dilapidated machinery. Our parents decided to clear out the barn. Whilst looking around, we heard a noise, a bang, as though something had been tipped or fallen over. So, being inquisitive children, we ran over to where the noise came and found amongst some broken and rusty equipment a little wooden stool. Mother came over to see what the fuss was about and told us what we had found was an old milking stool and would look wonderful done up and placed in our sitting room as a plant holder. After the stool was placed in the sitting room, plant and all, something odd started to happen. Whenever we were preoccupied watching TV or playing a game, the stool would inch forward across the room towards us. It was, of course, Nanny. Sometimes she'd manage to move it all the way to the centre of the room. It was just like Nanny to want to keep us company, and we loved it when she did this, and always felt sad putting it back against the wall. But it had to be done, as our parents had told us not to mention this Nanny again, and it was getting rather tiresome hearing her being used as an excuse. They didn't understand that Nanny just wanted to be near us. Jumping forward to many years later, long after we moved out and I was at university studying journalism, I had access to a lot of old articles and documents and decided to start researching the old country farmhouse I lived in as a child. I came across an old newspaper article about the farmhouse, about the original occupant. The article stated she was a widow after her husband was killed during an accident involving some faulty farming machinery. The widow fell into poverty as she was unable to keep the farm going without her husband and couldn't afford to pay for any hired help. It is said she went mad and had murdered her two children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk and an almond cookie before bed. The widow hanged herself that same night. Included in the article was a photo of the farmhouse's sitting room, with a woman's body hanging from one of the low ceiling beams. I could see it was Nanny, the same clothes, the same face. Beneath her, knocked over, was the small milking stool, exactly in the middle of the room, which is where I remember Nanny inching the stool forward to sit closer to us where we'd watch TV or play games.